Yo, what's going on guys? HyperX here, and today I want to talk about Sifu. This is a game that I am incredibly looking forward to. It recently got a new trailer in the sort of Gamescom show last week, and they also did have an adjustment to the release window, which we'll touch on in a moment. But regardless, this is looking incredible. I am someone that loves martial arts movies, fighting games. Basically, this ticks a load of boxes for me, and everything they've shown so far looks so incredibly stylish, so incredibly cool. So today, I kind of wanted to put together a video just talking about what we currently know on the game and kind of just what this game is, because if you guys haven't been following it too much, you might not necessarily know too much about it, and I feel like everyone should be checking this out because it just looked really cool. So if you guys do enjoy this, a like would be super appreciated. If it's already on your radar and you guys are excited for it, let me know down below. Or if this is the first time you're seeing it, then what do you think? But to begin with, to sort of quote the official description for the game, Sifu is marketed as a stylish yet gritty beat-em-up featuring visceral hand-to-hand combat in a contemporary urban setting. It's from Slowcap, who are the creators of the PS4 fighting game called Absolver, which was actually really cool. It didn't necessarily get as much sort of attention, but if you played it, the actual combat, the sort of feel of it was really cool. But Sifu follows a young kung fu student on a path of revenge, hunting the murderers of his family. One against all, he has no allies and countless enemies, and he will have to rely on his unique mastery of kung fu to prevail and preserve his family's legacy. Now, the very first time I ever saw this, the first time they ever showed the reveal trailer, it reminded me a lot of The Raid. You have those sort of famous corridor scenes, plus Sleeping Dogs. Shout out to that game. I wish that game got a sequel. And also Katana Zero. I know, very different sort of style game, that's a side scroller, but the way that in Katana Zero you often have to use your environment, pick up objects and just sort of fight waves of enemies in this sort of kung fu setup, admittedly that's more with a katana, but the principle is the same. So think of it like Raid, Sleeping Dogs, Katana Zero and Absolver all mixed together, and that's kind of what you get for Sifu. An awesome martial arts game. So definitely right up my alley. Now, I did mention, of course, there was a slight adjustment to the release window. They recently said that they were originally targeting the end of this year, but they've now pushed it to the beginning of 2022. Much like a lot of games this year, they've of course had difficulties developing during the pandemic, and as a result of that, they want to make sure the game can be as good as possible. So the new release date is now the 22nd of February, which means it's going to go alongside a ton of other games. I'm not sure how I'm going to find time to play all these games in Q1, but regardless, that is now the release date. So if you're looking forward to it, then mark that on your sort of tentative calendar, beginning of 2022. But what about the game itself? Well, obviously, if you're seeing the trailers running in the background, then you'll know there's a lot of sort of hand-to-hand combat. Again, the focus here is on the hunt for the assassins of your family, so this will take you throughout the city. There are so many different environments. I love all the different environments in this. You know, you've got some sort of gritty underground sewers, you've got these vibrant looking nightclubs, you've even got some sort of openly foresty looking areas in some of them as well. So it looks very cool. Now, of course, when you're playing throughout the game, there's a big focus on careful positioning because you're often going to be going against large groups of enemies, so you need to make clever use of your environment. Those are all keys to survival. You'll then have access to throwable objects, makeshift weapons, windows, ledges. That's kind of where I sort of threw in the Sleeping Dogs comparison, because some of those takedowns in Sleeping Dogs, where you used to drag shutters and just slam them on people's heads, they were brutal. And there are some that look pretty gnarly in this one. And on top of that, of course, you have continual progress. Kung Fu is of course described as a path of the body and the mind, and you learn from your errors and you unlock unique skills, and you find strength within yourself to master the devastating techniques of Pak Mei Kung Fu. However, one of the most interesting things about this one, and you might have seen that in the most recent trailer they showed at Gamescom, is that Sifu works around an aging mechanic. They actually kind of went to the PlayStation blog post and sort of explained this a little bit more. So to sort of quote the developer, they said that in today's State of Play trailer, they wanted to give you a short glimpse at the aging mechanic in an all-new environment. You begin in the nightclub, and the main character then finds themselves in an underground fight club, and they'll have to prevail through combat in order to reach their target. They said the progressive, subtle evolution of your surroundings as you get deeper into the hideouts of your enemies is a strong theme throughout the game. However, they then go on to say that Kung Fu is of course the mastery that comes from a life of training and practice, and the aging mechanic and death are also central to this. So in Sifu, the concept inspires both the main character's drive and philosophy, and they want to make this a part of the gameplay experience itself. So you can make mistakes, and you will make mistakes as you play throughout the game, and you can try again, and you can learn in the process. They wanted to make the experience as smooth and fluid as possible, so it's not going to be sort of like a punishing roguelite where you die and you have to go back to the beginning. They said that instead, players will be able to restart instantly where they died and keep going forward, kind of like an unstoppable force of revenge. However, you can't age eternally, so every single time you die, every single time you mess up, you will of course see that your age goes up, you get older, And of course, there will come a time where you'll become too old and you'll have to start your path again. So there will of course be a point at which you cannot continue. So I guess you could kind of liken it to just like a continue system like in an arcade. Eventually you run out of coins, but this time you run out of time. Now, they did say, of course, on top of that, you do not get weaker as you age. They said on the contrary, they wanted to sort of make it like the sort of old masters of classic kung fu movies where, you know, even though they're old, they've trained for their entire life and they are absolute badasses. And they said that as the main character becomes older, they have more experience, they have more skills, more knowledge and stuff like that they can apply to the fight. So like a true kung fu student, to reach your objective, you will have to improve through practice and perseverance, which is quite an interesting concept. Like, I like the fact that they want to focus on having this really cool, fast-paced, gritty flow where you sort of get into combat and obviously you will mess up. You will get swamped, you will get overwhelmed by these massive number of enemies and then you will of course die, but then the fact that you can then pick straight back up, carry on, obtain some new skills. They haven't necessarily sort of said specifically what those skills will be just yet, whether it's say like new abilities, like special say takedowns that maybe you couldn't do before, maybe you can take advantage of elements of the environment that maybe before you couldn't. I'm not entirely sure exactly how that will pan out, and once we do find out, I will of course let you guys know, because I definitely cannot wait to sort of check this out in greater detail. But the main thing is there is some kind of gradual progression that you will of course, you know, obtain as you're working through, as you're aging, as you're losing, you're still learning the process, and you then of course ideally get to the end and defeat the people that took out your family. Either that, or you get too old and you have to start again. But that is one of the most interesting new mechanics in the game. Now outside of that, of course, combat itself, as mentioned, looks super fluid. Like when you sort of jump in between characters, you can really feel the weight. I mean, obviously I'm just looking at this through a trailer and through sounds, but I would imagine when you've got like the DualShock in your hands, you can actually feel the rumble. Like I feel like this is one of those ones where Absolver did it as well. They had a really good weight feeling to combat, so I'm quite excited to see how this feels to play. But anyway, for the time being, that's pretty much it. That was a quick rundown on what Sifu is, just in case you guys haven't been following it too much. Again, do be sure to keep it locked, because once we do get a chance to go hands-on, or we do get to find out more about the game, I will keep you guys posted. But for the time being, catch you guys in the next one. If you want to catch more from us at HyperX Gaming, don't forget you can catch the guys TwoSixNine and Paradise Central streaming over on Twitch weekdays, playing a variety of games. If you guys want to jump in, tune in, watch, and even join in, then make sure you check them out. The links to those are in the description box down below. And of course, you can join the Discord to get involved in all of the discussions.